So let's review what happened on Friday. Trump comes out, some very warm tweets about the Chinese. We get a partial deal, pretty much a nothing burger. We've got the Fed injecting $87 billion on Friday. Also, Fed comes out of the clear blue and announces that it's going to be buying $60 billion a month of US Treasuries. So everything is being propped up. There's no way these markets can lose when there is so much manipulation being pumped and injected by the Federal Reserve. President tweets and the Fed coming in, injecting massive amounts of money and buying massive amounts of treasuries. I don't know how anybody cannot be concerned with the amount of manipulation. This is going to end very, very badly. How long can they keep this going? So we're talking now the Fed buying $60 billion a month of treasuries. That's $720 billion a year. That is the entire defense budget right there, just buying US Treasuries. Ask yourself, how long can this go on? Where in the world is this money coming from? Who's going to pay it back? It's just another pure example of how bad and how fragile this system is, that we are injecting huge amounts of money into the banking system, the massive amounts of buying of treasuries. They're doing everything they can to keep this whole thing together. I'm out here in Orange County today. As you know, millions of people without power up in Northern California. People are oblivious. People are out here hitting the restaurants, having cocktails, enjoying the beach, not a care in the world to what's really happening to this very fragile economy, what's happening to millions of people up in Northern California. Many people coming out saying that this whole thing in Northern California with PG&E is completely orchestrated, that this may be a trial run of some sort, but you have to ask yourself, are you prepared for massive situations to come here in America? When you look at how sensitive the grid situation is here, how quickly, with the flip of a switch, your power can be cut off. What would you do if your grocery store no longer has food, your refrigerator doesn't work, your air conditioning, your heat doesn't work, your Tesla won't charge, your solar panels aren't going to work because that power from your solar panels doesn't go right to your house, it goes right to the grid, then back to your house. But there must be running electricity in order for that whole process to work. So again, so many things happening behind the scenes where the dumbed down masses, many of whom are right here behind me, enjoying a beautiful weekend. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. It's important to have a good time. It's important to take and put balance in your life. But with so much going on, how many people around me right now are prepared? Many of you watching this are very prepared, very awake. But so many people here walking around, texting on their phones, oblivious to reality, to the storm that is coming to America. It's really sad in a way. It's disappointing to see how far America has come and how dumbed down we are, unprepared, and how soft we have become as a people. This is a reminder to everybody out there, do not become complacent. You look around, it's beautiful. Sunny days, palm trees, blue skies, and beautiful beaches. Yet there's a lot happening that we better be preparing for. This is not the time to be getting lazy or become complacent. It's the time to be preparing, taking opportunity, and getting ready. This to me feels so much like the calm before the storm. This feels so much like 2007, but eerily it seems much, much more dangerous. So just checking in from Orange County here. It's a beautiful day. And again, it's good to take a break, but remember, continue to have that mindset to be preparing and be awake to what's coming. Many of these people, 99% of them, are not aware or prepared for what's coming. What was interesting on Friday was the market got up above 500 points and then shot down 200 points at the end of close, finishing up around 319. So it was ought to be over 500 with all the good news and all the propping, and then it had that quick drop of 200 points. you have to ask yourself now that we have this partial deal, what is going to drive these markets this coming week? What's going to be the next story? We've used this Chinese trade war for almost 2 years now, and every time the markets needed to push, we would get a tweet or we'd get some kind of positive news about the next meeting, or the meeting went well, or everybody felt positive. It was always something regarding trade negotiations that they would use to continue to drive these markets. How long can they cry wolf with the same old story to continue to drive these markets up? So we have a partial deal now. What now, this coming week, are they going to use to drive these markets? And how long do these markets continue to believe these stories? How long do these injections, this quantitative easing, these low rates, again, look to a rate cut at the end of this month? How long does the medication continue to work for these markets before they no longer do? So what is going to keep these markets surging? Well, it's going to be just what I talked about. It's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of injections by the Fed. It's going to be $60 billion of Treasury purchases. It's going to be lowering of the interest rate. That's what's going to continue to keep these markets surging until they no longer surge. You know, we have a real bad addiction here in America. It's not just drugs, it's an addiction of consumption, an addiction of buying things with credit. People are living on credit cards. People are going into debt just trying to stay in the middle class. People are living paycheck to paycheck. People are continuing to live lifestyles beyond their means. And the way they're doing it is by credit. This economy is producing nothing but consumption. Once we start seeing an uptick in unemployment in America, because this whole economy now is dependent on the consumption of the consumer, what happens when this job market starts falling apart? And I think this job market is completely propped up. I think the numbers are completely rigged, completely manipulated. But what happens when we start getting serious upticks in unemployment? People are being told that the job market's doing well, and this is motivating people, propelling people to go out and spend, because they're being told the economy's well, the job market's well. They just believe things are going to get better. And every day that goes by, these people keep acquiring more debt, getting deeper into debt, harder to get out. And when this job market turns, and most of these jobs, part-time or $10, $12, $14, $15 an hour jobs, this is not going to sustain a real economy. Real economies must have manufacturing. We must be building and making things. And if we're not doing that, if we're just consuming, if we're acquiring more debt, $22.7 trillion of debt right here in the US. We're looking at almost $14 trillion of consumer debt, 1.5 trillion, 1.6 trillion of college tuition debt, 1.3 trillion in auto loan debt, $1 trillion of credit card debt, and it's growing. 20 consecutive quarters of consumer debt growing. And you would think in a booming economy, people wouldn't be taking on this kind of debt, but they are, because what you're being told is not the truth. When this thing turns, when this unemployment starts ticking up, when people continue to start losing more and more jobs, they're not going to be able to hide this. And I believe that we are going to see historical times and historical events unfold in America. Too many people, like the people around me today, the masses, the herd, the sheep, the dumbed down, how many of these people out here are really prepared, really know what's going on? They just believe what they're being told, that everything's okay, their money is safe in financial institutions, the banks are sound, they're safe, they're healthy, yet we just pumped in $87 billion on Friday. So everything you're being told, I don't know how anybody can believe it. Where would these markets be right now if we weren't pumping hundreds of billions of dollars into the banks, if we weren't buying $60 billion of treasuries every month now for the next 12 months, if we weren't lowering interest rates? We're not that far away from zero right now. The question is, do we get a quarter point or half point cut at the end of this month? That is to be seen. But if we took out all these tools that they're using, where would these markets really be today? So many of the trolls out there, so many of these douchebags out there, want to tell us that things are so good that this is just fear-mongering, that this is just propaganda. But where would this be right now if we weren't really living in a fake economy where we could just print money out of thin air, where we could just lower interest rates to zero and just keep kicking the can down the road? Where would we be if this was really a free market and we weren't lowering rates, we weren't printing money, we weren't doing corporate buybacks, we weren't buying $60 billion a month of treasuries? Where do you think we'd be right now? We would be in a major crash in a real free market. And that free market is coming because at some point they will lose control, the medicine will lose its effect, and all they've done is make the problem worse. The patient is now much sicker than he was 10 years ago. It is going to be much, much more worse because of the debt creation that we've used to keep the patient alive over the last 10 years. And America is going to pay a very severe price for injecting all this debt, all this medicine into these markets and keeping this patient alive on life support with injections of billions and trillions of dollars, low interest rates, corporate buybacks, and all this manipulation and cooking of the books. We've been living in nothing but an illusion, and people have lived well for the last 10 years for the most part. But at some point, reality is coming, and people, unfortunately, are going to pay a severe price because they got drunk on the Kool-Aid, thinking that everything was okay. They trusted the government, they trusted the institution, they trusted the banks, and they're going to wake up one day and find out they've been lied to, and wait till this pension crisis hits America. And I'm here to tell you, it's coming. And when these things hit America, 99% of people are going to be taken by surprise. I know most of you won't be. You're preparing. It's a beautiful day, another great day to be preparing, to be walking closer to God, to be out training at the range, which I will be doing tomorrow, to be putting a little food and water away, to put an ounce or two of silver or gold away. Time to prepare is now, not after it happens. It will be too late. This right now is beautiful. Here at the Montage in Laguna Beach, California, one of the most beautiful places on earth. Let me tell you, what happens when these people stop showing up, when the Montage is at 20 or 30% capacity instead of 100% capacity? What happens when it's 10% capacity? How do they keep the lights on? Listen, this whole thing is based on debt. And I'm here to tell you, reality is coming. Prepare.